There is a silent killer that takes more lives each year than any war, any natural disaster, or any infectious outbreak. Yet almost everyone who has it feels completely normal. No warning, no pain, no symptoms, nothing. If an intruder broke into your home, you would notice. But when this killer slips into your bloodstream, you feel perfectly fine. That is the trap. And that is why so many people never see it coming. Imagine a saboteur living inside your house. It breaks nothing, triggers no alarms, leaves no trace. Every morning you wake up feeling safe, completely unaware that night after night, this intruder is weakening the beams holding your roof in place. You do not discover its presence until the entire structure collapses on top of you. This is not the plot of a horror movie. This is the biological reality of living with untreated hypertension, high blood pressure, the single most significant risk factor for death worldwide. Yet nearly half of the people who suffer from it have no idea. They feel fine. They look healthy. But inside, a violent physiological process is unfolding. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly why we call it the silent killer, and more importantly, how to stop it before the roof comes crashing down. To understand the danger, we first have to understand the mechanism. Think of your circulatory system as the plumbing in your house, but instead of copper pipes, you have living, flexible tubes called arteries. Your heart is the pump. Every time it beats, it pushes a wave of blood through these tubes to feed your organs. When a doctor measures your blood pressure, they give you two numbers, like 120/80. The top number is the systolic pressure. That is the sheer force of the blood slamming against your artery walls when your heart contracts. The bottom number is the diastolic pressure. That is the pressure that remains in the arteries when your heart is resting between beats. In a healthy system, the arteries are elastic. They stretch like a rubber band to handle the flow. But when you have hypertension, that force is too high. It is like turning a garden hose on full blast and then kinking it. The pressure builds up. Now, if this happened for 10 minutes, it would be annoying. But hypertension is relentless. It happens 100,000 times a day, every single day. But here's the terrifying question. If your blood vessels are being stretched to their breaking point, why doesn't it hurt? And the real answer is something most people are never told. Let's introduce you to Robert. Robert is 45 years old. He is a little stressed at work. He skips the gym more than he should, and he loves a good steak dinner. But generally, he feels strong. He has no headaches, no blurred vision, and no chest pain. Robert believes that sickness requires symptoms. If he is not in pain, he assumes he is well. He reminds me of so many patients I have met, independent, hardworking, and completely unaware that their strongest enemy was the one they couldn't feel. But Robert isn't fine. And here's the part that the human body hides too well. This is the fatal flaw in human intuition. Your body is designed to adapt. Unlike your skin, which is packed with pain receptors that scream if you get a paper cut, the inside of your arteries has no pain nerves. You cannot feel your blood pressure rising any more than you can feel your hair growing. Furthermore, your body attempts to normalize this dangerous state. Your baroreceptors, which are little pressure sensors in your neck, essentially reset their thermostat. They start thinking that this high pressure is the new normal. Your baroreceptors were built for survival. They are designed to detect sudden danger, a drop in blood pressure, a threat to circulation, and react instantly. But they were never designed for years of high pressure. So when hypertension persists long enough, these sensors do something terrifying. They stop reporting danger. They recalibrate. They accept the elevated pressure as the new baseline. It is as if the smoke detectors in your home got tired of constant smoke and decided to stop sounding the alarm. This is the cruelest part of hypertension. The body's own warning system becomes blind to the threat. So, Robert walks around with a pressure of 160 over 100, feeling completely fine, while his body is slowly eroding from the inside out. But what exactly is happening during this silence? Before we perform a deep dive into the microscopic damage happening inside Robert right now, I want you to ask yourself, when was the last time you checked your numbers? Knowledge is the only antidote to this silent condition. If you want to master your health and understand the science of your body, make sure to subscribe and click the notification bell so you never miss a vital update. If you're learning something new already, consider liking this video. It tells YouTube this is the kind of health content worth spreading. Now, let's look at the damage. Let's zoom in to the microscopic battlefield where the real destruction begins. The first casualty of high blood pressure is the endothelium. This is the delicate, silky smooth inner lining of your arteries. When blood blasts through at high pressure, it causes microscopic tears and scratches on this lining. It is like taking sandpaper to the inside of a hose. Your body tries to heal these scratches, but the healing process is messy. It becomes a trap for cholesterol and white blood cells. This forms plaque. Over time, this plaque hardens, making the arteries stiff and narrow. This is atherosclerosis. But the real tragedy is not just the plaque itself. It is the microscopic war happening on the vessel wall long before a blockage ever forms. Your endothelium, that silky smooth lining of your arteries, is supposed to release a chemical called nitric oxide, a natural relaxant that keeps arteries open, flexible, and calm. But under relentless high pressure, that system collapses. The force of the blood creates microscopic stress fractures. These fractures spark inflammation. Inflammation releases reactive oxygen molecules, tiny chemical sparks that destroy nitric oxide before it can do its job. Suddenly, the arteries lose their ability to relax. They stiffen. They constrict. They become hostile terrain. This is the invisible moment. Hypertension stops being a number and becomes a disease. Now the heart has to push even harder to get blood through a smaller, stiffer tube, which raises blood pressure even more. It is a vicious, self-feeding cycle. But the damage does not stop at the tubes. It moves to the pump. Because the heart is working against such massive resistance, the muscle of the left ventricle, the heart's main pumping chamber, starts to thicken. This is called left ventricular hypertrophy. You might think a bigger muscle is better, like a bicep, but for the heart, it is disastrous. The muscle becomes stiff and bulky. It requires more oxygen than the blood can supply, and eventually, it becomes too weak to pump effectively. This is the road to heart failure. But the heart is not the only organ under siege. The next victim is the one that defines your entire existence: the brain. While the heart struggles, the brain is under siege. Your brain is fed by a complex web of tiny, fragile vessels. High blood pressure can cause these weak spots to balloon out, forming an aneurysm that can burst, leading to a hemorrhagic stroke. Or, the hardened arteries we discussed earlier can break off a piece of plaque, causing a blockage known as an ischemic stroke. In both cases, the silence is broken by a catastrophic event that changes life in an instant. But strokes are only the loudest tragedy. There is another, quieter destruction, the kind that does not paralyze the body, but slowly erases the person. Chronic high blood pressure chips away at the tiny vessels that feed the brain's white matter, the communication cables that allow your thoughts, memories, and identity to function. When these vessels narrow, blood flow drops. Cells suffocate. On an MRI, this damage appears as bright white scars, white matter hyperintensities. Doctors know what they really are: footprints of a brain starving for oxygen. This is why midlife hypertension is one of the strongest predictors of dementia later in life. Not because it causes forgetfulness, but because it silently removes the wiring that makes memory possible. And we cannot forget the kidneys. Your kidneys are essentially millions of microscopic filters that clean your blood. These filters are incredibly delicate. When high-pressure blood slams into them, it destroys the filtration units. This is a leading cause of kidney failure, forcing patients onto dialysis machines to survive. And just when you think the damage couldn't get any worse, the kidneys make a tragic mistake, a chemical betrayal that accelerates the destruction. For those of you who want to understand the advanced physiology, we must discuss the chemical betrayal of the kidneys. It is called the renin-angiotensin-aldosterone system. When your kidneys get damaged by high pressure, they actually get confused. Because the vessels are damaged, the kidneys think they are not getting enough blood flow. So, in a panic, they release a hormone called renin. This triggers a chemical cascade that produces angiotensin II, a potent chemical that tightens your blood vessels even more to increase pressure. It also tells your body to hold on to salt and water. So, your damaged kidneys, trying to save you, actually pour gasoline on the fire, driving your blood pressure even higher. This is why doctors often prescribe medications specifically designed to block this chemical pathway. And now, let's return to the man walking around with a ticking time bomb, without feeling a thing. Let's go back to Robert. Fortunately for him, he went for a routine insurance physical. The doctor saw the numbers and didn't panic, but he was firm. Robert was shocked. He said, "But I feel fine." The doctor explained what I just told you, that feeling fine is the disguise the killer wears. Robert had a choice. He could ignore it and wait for the heart attack, or he could act. He started simple. He reduced his sodium intake, which lowered the fluid volume in his blood. He started walking 30 minutes a day, which helps blood vessels release nitric oxide, a natural chemical that relaxes and opens up arteries. He took the medication to block that renin-angiotensin cycle we talked about. 6 months later, Robert's pressure is 120/80. His risk of stroke has dropped by nearly 40%. His risk of heart failure has been cut in half. The silent killer has been disarmed. Before we end, there's one truth you absolutely must hear. High blood pressure is called the silent killer, not because it is rare, but because it is patient. It waits for years, hiding behind the mask of good health. But you do not have to be a victim of that silence. The cuff that measures your pressure is the only way to hear the warning before the crash. If you have not checked your blood pressure in the last 6 months, make that your priority this week. Go to a pharmacy, visit your doctor, or buy a home monitor. It is the most important number you will ever know. If you found this explanation helpful, please hit the like button so this information can reach more people and potentially save a life. Share this video with someone you care about, especially the stubborn ones who say they feel fine. I will see you in the next video, where we decode the mysteries of the human body. Stay healthy.